All right. Hello, everyone. It is Cathy Alessandra, the Yes, I Can coach, and I am back with another episode of Yes, I Can Living. I am so excited to be bringing this podcast to you in hopes of inspiring you to live your life full out and play full out as well, right? Work hard, play hard, and enjoy life, and really live that best life for you. So today we have a very special guest, Sheri Berke. With over 30 years of experience in large companies and small, Sheri Berke navigated mergers, acquisitions, and bankruptcy recovery. She's a former certified public accountant who spent most of her time in the private sector. At one point, she had oversight of over $1.4 billion corporate budget, yet in her personal life, she was on the brink of financial ruin. In the mid-90s, during an economic recession, she lost her job. With $140,000 in credit card debt and personal debt, the bank was about to take her home. Sheri was racked with shame and guilt. But Sheri is not a quitter. Definitely not. She fought back from bankruptcy and eventually put away 7 figures. She created the Reinvention Playbook after her experiences in recovering from loss and massive debt. Today, Sheri supports professional women who are feeling stuck and uncertain about their next life move to reinvent their finances and their vision of freedom so they can find satisfaction and fulfillment they are seeking in this next great chapter. Based in Southern California, Sheri shares with candor and vulnerability her journey from zero to $1 million investment portfolio, providing hope for women who are stuck or struggling with grief, divorce, and financial setbacks. So Sheri, welcome to the show today. I'm excited to have you.
Oh, and I'm so excited to be here. I've been looking forward to this.
Yes, me too. I'm glad we all made it work. You know, it's actually the perfect conversation to start off this new year because, you know, we've been in the pandemic. We have experienced financial woes and concerns, and many have lost their jobs. Many probably, you know, like you said, that you had come back from personal debt and credit card debt, and I'm sure people are racking that up. And so it's really a great time for us to have that conversation and dive a little bit into that, as well as a little bit into you, to really support women, because it's so important. They really take stock of their finances and make it an important piece, right?
Absolutely. It's where sometimes we feel we hadn't been skilled in doing that, and yet that's to our detriment. We need to overcome that concern and make the moves that we need to make in order to take care of ourselves and our families.
Yeah, absolutely. Empowering ourselves with it. I mean, it's a tough conversation. Nobody likes to talk about the money, but
Oh no.
money, right?
Oh no.
Those money conversations. Wow.
It's one of the least desired topics to talk about.
Yes, it is.
Especially with true vulnerability. So I understand
completely,
that.
Right?
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit more, just so our listeners get to know you a little bit more. So I've shared a little bit of your story in the introduction, but tell me a little bit about why and how you began this part of the business. You know, you came out of corporate, and let's talk a little bit about that.
Well, I was really looking around to see how I could give back. I've always been passionate about supporting women in becoming the very best that they could be. And I've learned so many lessons along the way. Some of them as a result of formal training in college or in work environments, some of it through trial and error and scraped knees, that I really wanted to support other women in with that knowledge, and save them from having to make some of the mistakes that I did.
Right. Love that. Okay, awesome. So let's talk about, I typically ask people about their biggest challenge and how they overcame it. And you talk about, you know, being in, you know, $140,000 in debt, no job. So let's explore a little bit about that, because I do think there's probably people feeling that, particularly right now, you know, that concern of, you know, having to, losing it all or whatever that is. So let's talk a little bit about that with you and how you overcame that.
Well, some of it was, I started off like probably so many people that, oh, it's just a passing phase it'll be fine.
Mhm.
And what I didn't do was make adjustments in my spending and some aspects of my lifestyle fast enough.
Mhm.
I thought, well, I'll find another job. I'll be able to work my way out of it. But when I started to borrow from my 401k, borrow against my life insurance, and finally I was making house payments on my credit cards, it became obvious I really, really had to make some changes.
Mhm.
And some of it was also, I didn't do that important pre-planning, having a bit of money set aside for an emergency. There are statistics that say most families could not incur a uh, car repair over about $500
Mhm.
without putting it on a credit card, that
Mhm.
they have no emergency fund set aside.
Mhm.
So, and some of that says you have to make the trade-off between fulfilling what you want to have right now, with, okay, can we compromise and wait a little bit and put some money aside so we have that cushion?
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, good point. I mean, I think there's, we're kind of in a we're in a society up until the pandemic hit where it's instant gratification, or there's a lot of instant gratification, myself included.
Yes.
I'm not saying anything that I
Oh,
haven't experienced myself, right? You know, and we need to be looking at that. I love that how you said, you didn't make a shift quick enough, when you saw things that you lost the job and you didn't make a shift quick enough in your lifestyle, and things that were going on until it was almost, too late and the
mhm.
debt had racked up. And I think that's, here we are almost a year in to this pandemic. Oh my God. Who would have ever thought that we would
Who
have said
knew?
that? Right? Who
Yeah.
knew? You mentioned that, I think that the standard used to be if you had 3 months worth of, expenses that you were okay, which clearly that's not the case. We
No.
realize that. But what can people do, right now in this time, looking at our finances? I mean, being that we're kind of, some people may be starting from negative, or, what can we do? What can we look at? Or what should we be doing right now to kind of, look at those numbers?
Well, I think some of that is to be realistic
Mhm.
and look at what is what do you need to be spending,
Mhm.
and especially at this time of year, approaching the holidays, we want to lavish uh, you know things on our family, on ourselves, and maybe where in the past 2 or 3 or 4 things under the tree were what was expected, it may start with that conversation with the entire household that it's time to adjust our expectations of what's possible.
Mhm.
It's time to consider that uh, rather than eating out or ordering out, that we start to do more meal planning as a family to create fun in a different way,
Mhm.
while we're also reducing our spending.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, I think it's important to kind of restock those accounts, those savings, for those of us who've had to dip into savings, or
Yes.
that kind of thing, as we're going through this. And while, we're recording this during the holiday season, and I love that. I mean, this is going to be airing, our listeners are hearing this in January, but that's a good point, is this fact that having that conversation, with I worked on my budget last night, or this past weekend. Actually, I spent the whole weekend looking deeply at the numbers and figuring out what I should cut, what I was willing to cut, and what I was willing to adjust so that I could continue having a lifestyle in some other areas that I was wanting to do. And I think there's some empowering abilities in that, if you really can get a hold of the money's, um, the money story. The money story. I think, there's a lot to be said about our money stories. Would you agree?
Oh, there is certainly our money stories. And most all of us, our money stories started when we were growing up.
Mhm.
And many of us never received any real formal training, whether it was from our parents or a course in school, until maybe we were either in college or a special church program even. And we watch the behavior of our parents, and depending upon how they grew up or what their life situation was, it could be a story of scarcity or abundance or
Mhm.
abandon. Who cares? It'll be
Right, right,
fine tomorrow.
right. Yeah, I think you refer to them as money monsters. Am I right?
Oh, yes, yes. Those little things that lurk in the dark and jump out when you least expect them.
Uh-huh.
That are the things that keep us prisoner of our old thinking, that we don't always realize how those crafty little money monsters are just nagging at us that, oh, there'll never be money. Oh, we can't possibly do this. Or even on the other hand, oh, tomorrow's another day. We can do this now, and it's no problem.
Mhm.
When reality is probably somewhere midstream. We aren't even aware that we're thinking that way sometimes until we make an intention to catch ourselves and the thinking that we have, so we can recraft it to our benefit, especially in times like this.
Yeah, especially, it's a good point. I think, you referred previously too about, having the conversations and how it goes back. And then we start questioning ourselves, and, it can go back to your childhood, right? How you were raised, or what the values and the priorities on money were.
Mhm.
And I think we can take so much of that forward. I'm just thinking about conversations that I've had with my ex-husband, or conversations that I've had with my boyfriend or my kids, and the triggers that can come up, those monsters, as you referred to them, that can come up as you're having those conversations with somebody, because money is such a difficult subject for most people to talk about. And so is there a tip or two that you would have for families, or for a woman entrepreneur, single or not, to to get over that and not feel quite so stuck and afraid?
Well, I think it starts with the willingness to have the conversation.
Hmm.
And then I recommend not having it when there's already a sense of frustration or anger going on. Many times we pick the wrong time. Certainly, if we're hungry or angry or it's late at night, might not be the best time to
Hmm.
start a conversation about money. And yet, other times one can say, well, there's never a good time. You have to start somewhere.
Hmm.
It could be making an, an agreement to make an appointment on maybe the weekend or something, to sit down and have a clear-headed conversation
Hmm.
about the household budget or decisions that have to be made.
Hmm. Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I mean, like I said, I had spent this past weekend really digging into everything, and I don't have anybody else I need to, you know, approve things with now,
Mhm.
as a single woman. But having that space, right? Having that space to really look at it. It wasn't something where I was in a hurry. It was coming from a place of empowerment, right?
Mhm.
I mean, I do look at my business finances monthly, and looking for see things are going. But it gives us an opportunity to make those decisions. And I think even more so, having it with our significant other or family members, to be able to. I love the idea and the suggestion that making an appointment to do it, so that everybody's kind of prepared, and that
Mhm.
leaving that judgment and the frustration as much as you can behind. I don't know that going through your budget and then having that conversation as you're in this right place is the right
Right,
time to do it.
right. It,
Definitely.
it does take space. And in the days that I was working in corporate and overseeing budgets, whenever that first budget would come in, and we'd usually set parameters of what could be spent and what couldn't. But that first view of that budget was always one of those moments that I call it my throw up moment, because the number that I saw was so outrageous that I had to, take a step back and, few deep breaths, walk around a little bit, come back, and then start to look into it. And so many times there may have been things that had been just the basics, not added up correctly. Maybe things were double counted or the wrong amounts were put in. So it's a process, and it's not a once and done kind of thing.
Definitely.
But yeah, and as you say, you do it monthly, which is so healthy. And if you have a sense in our businesses of what those recurring expenses are, that we can anticipate what we need to be dealing with. And at the same time, we can choose far enough in advance, is this something that I need to spend, I choose to spend, that serves me to be spending.
So your reinvention playbook, does it actually go into pieces of this that you're talking about? Tell me a little bit about the reinvention playbook.
Well, the reinvention playbook is a process, and it applies really to realistically looking at where you are right now, as well as where you want to go, and then the path to get there. These are the kinds of conversations that in my one-on-one discussions with clients that we dig deep into. So it's more in the one-on-one work than specifically in the playbook.
Got it. Okay. So let me ask you, let's go back a little bit to, having your business and how that's grown, and what would be something that you wish you knew when you'd started? I mean, now that you've been in business and you've been doing this for a while, and helping others, what is this something that you would tell your younger self, your current self would tell your younger self, about starting a business?
Well, I think that what I tell my younger self is to be realistic, that it will take time, and that it's anywhere from 3 to 5 years that you have to be prepared to do heavy lifting. And that in the process, you need to get clear on who you want to serve, who your ideal client is. And to really, in many respects in that regard, to listen to your intuition. That I know I have had people have said, oh, no, you really want to focus over here. And this is how you want to address them and find them and that. And at the same time, it didn't necessarily ring true. Now, of course, there's the balance with stepping outside your comfort zone, because in business, you are always, it's been my experience, stepping outside your comfort zone. You're learning new things, you're approaching new projects, you're meeting new people. And maybe you're comfortable with that, but I have to say, I haven't always been.
Well, I think, I don't know that everybody's always comfortable. And here's the thing about being comfortable, right? You're not growing. Exactly. I mean, that's the bottom line in my mind. If you are comfortable, then you have chosen, and that's okay too, to be in a place of, consistency or stability, or, not stuckness, but I mean, you've made that choice, right? And I think some of us over the last, pandemic, some people did make that choice to stay comfortable where they were at and just kind of let things go. When we get uncomfortable, that's where the growth happens, right? I mean, we can't, I don't know about you, but I've never taken a step towards growth and been comfortable with it.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
But
And
it's worth it. It's always worth it, right? Or usually worth it.
well, the lessons that you learn are valuable
Mhm.
in
Yeah.
whether it's like, I don't think I'll do that again, or it's the, oh, yes, this is exactly how I wanted things to turn out. It's how I pictured it,
Right.
and love it.
Yeah. I love that. Awesome. So let me ask you, how do you define success?
I define success as much as anything when I see someone I work with achieve the result they wanted, that what they were looking to do, and they're so excited about it. For me, that's success.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. So, okay, so if people are listening and they're like, all right, yeah, I really do need to get my money in order. I really do need to figure out some things. I need to, I think it particularly, I mean, I think you'd even said somebody who has gone through, a bankruptcy or a divorce or is I mean, even the challenges of what we've experienced over this last year, right?
Mhm.
And trying to come back from all of that and working with you and going through the, the reinvention playbook with you. Where would somebody find you? How would they connect with you?
Well, they can find me on my website, the reinventionplaybook.com.
Okay.
There's a way to contact me, and I have a free gift for your viewers as well.
Awesome.
That is, I think, I'll make certain you have that information, and it's available on my website. There's also the ability to book a call with me on my website.
Awesome. Wonderful. Thank you. I think it's important for people to understand that no matter what they've experienced, whether it's in regards to the pandemic and losing a job or losing clients or whatever, that hope is not lost, that there is a way to reinvent, that we can take control of our finances and we can make some minor adjustments and sometimes some major ones, and we will get through. I mean, you are a glowing example of that, coming back from debt into that and into $1 million portfolio. And it's absolutely possible. You've been there and done that, right?
It is. It absolutely is. And in a Deepak Chopra and Oprah Winfrey meditation series not that long ago, they had said that hope, with anything, hope is possible.
Mhm.
But for hope to be effective, it takes action.
Yeah.
And that's what I support those I work with in doing, taking the hope that they have for a new future and creating the action plan and supporting them, cheering them on, celebrating them as they go through that.
I love that. I love that. So let me ask you my final question that I ask
Mhm.
all the women I interview. What makes you a yes, I can woman?
Oh, because I don't stop. The only failure is quitting. And I just keep going. I may need a break every now and again. I keep going.
Right. A break, a slight shift, but not giving up and quitting. Like you said, I love that. The only failure, is when we quit, when we just stop. Sheri, thank you so much for joining us today. I appreciate you being on the call, sharing your experiences, sharing your story with the listeners to help them understand that, no matter what you're facing and financially where things stand for you, whether you have really been impacted in a severe way or whether it's minor, that there's ways around it that we can work through this. Sheri can help you, and there is hope, as we've mentioned. There is always hope and a light at the end of the tunnel. Sheri, thanks again for being here. Much appreciated.
Thank you so much. It's been a delight.
Absolutely. And we will see all of you on our next episode of Yes, I Can Living. Until then, be sure you hop on over to the website and subscribe for our next edition of the magazine, yesicanliving.com, not to mention the new Yes, I Can Women community and our brand new app. Until then, we will see you and have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.